Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Peppley and I am the owner and operator of Shelly's Wreaths and More. And today I'd like to come on and show you how to make a centerpiece using basically a teardropped swag and some pieces that match the tree that I put up. So to get started, I'm going to take, now the centerpiece that I'm going to make is going to be extra large because I have a table, I believe that's 12 feet long in my dining room. And what I'd like to do is make a centerpiece that matches my Christmas tree. So I'm going to have to start out with a very long design. Now you may not need two. These are actually 24-inch teardrops. Okay, you can see that they're just, and I've opened them up. All right, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put two of them together because, like I said, I have a 12-foot like trestle table in my dining room, and I want this to cover up, well, it just needs to be a little bit bigger, just, for the scale of the table. So I'm going to take the two ends, and I'm just going to butt them up, and I'm actually going to overlap them a little bit. All right, so this now comes to, let's see, I'm going to measure it real quick. This is 36. This comes to be about 72 inches. Maybe not quite that long. I'm going to shrink it up just a little bit by pulling it in. So now it's 35 and now it's more like 70 inches. Yeah, 70 inches. Okay, so I'm going to get two zip ties. All right, and I'm just going to go right in between the ties here, and I'm going to tie my two teardrop forms together, just where they overlap in the middle. Now, you're not going to see any of this teardrop, or you'll see some of it, probably very little compared to what you're looking at now. Primarily because I'm using this base primarily because I need stuff to hold all the picks that I'm going to put in together, and I need something that I can kind of glue to. Okay, so I've got two of them in there. Let's make sure that I hit the overlapping parts, and I did. I think I can use one more for safety purposes. I'll put it up closer to the top of this one. And then I'll cut the tails off and we'll be ready to go. So this is just our base. We probably won't see much of this base, but we know it's going to be working because it's going to hold everything that we're putting in there. Okay, so there we have the base. Okay, and all I'm doing is just spreading the tines out a little bit. The branches, not tines. But there we go. All right. It's going to be all the room I need. Now, the next thing I'm going to add, I want this green to kind of fade into the background. So I'm going to add a couple of different sprays of greenery. This is a cedar bush. It's from a Regency, a company called Regency. And I'm just going to take it, lay it in the middle, right down the center of my teardrop, just to give it not only different texture, different colors, okay? And I'm just going to take two of the pine branches from my base and crisscross them over and just twist them, and that'll hold that branch in, okay? You can do the same thing on this side. Now I've already opened up this cedar. I'm just going right down the middle of the, and I'm going to just grab two pine branches from below, and I'm going to bring them through, tying this cedar bush onto the teardrop swags. Now, this just gives it a little bit of dimension, a little bit of, with the color difference. Okay, I might just tie it in two different places, just for security purposes. Again, just reach in there, pull out your, and then we're just going to kind of pull the branches side to side to give it, marry them together. Okay, I need to tie one more set down here. All right, so as you can see now, we have a teardrop with the cedar in there. All right, okay, now might not hurt to tie one more in through here. I have those loops there, and I'll just tie them in like this, using again the teardrop shape. There we go. Okay. All right. The next greenery I'm going to add are a couple of these picks. These picks will bring in, again, a different texture. These picks come from Jam Designs and Supplies. Fantastic place if you're interested in any supplies. Jam Designs is the place that I get probably 90% of my supplies. And just taking off the tags. Now this pick here is going to give us long needle pine. It's going to give us regular evergreen. There is a cedar on it. It's got pine cones on it. And all I'm doing really is just greening my base or preparing my base. And what I'll do is I'll bring in all the sprays and ornaments that I've used on my Christmas tree for the color and the accents. Now I'm going to take off this pine cone. It's a little shaky already. We don't need it right now. All right, so I got 4 of these. So I'm going to take and open these up. You know, bring this to life. You can see it's got regular evergreen. It's got long needle pine on it. It has a cedar pick in there. And this is just perfect because it gives, again, more dimension and different textures and colors. All right, so I'm going to put 2 on each side. All right, and I'm just layering these in on top of the ones that we've done before. Just spread them out. And I'll put that pine cone in. I'll glue it in when I'm towards the end because I do like the pine cones in there. Now, I'm wondering if you all have your Christmas decorations up. I am finally able to dedicate some time to mine. I've had a number of installs this year. I've gotten those all completed and now I have time to do mine. All right, now I'm going to keep these long, but I'm just going to layer them up. All right, and again, I'm just going to open them up. I'll open up these ties. Now, I'm going to just open up the 2 ties that I have right here. Use that one that I have. Then I'm going to go up and find some throughout this evergreen. And we'll be done tying this stuff in pretty soon. We'll just start gluing stuff in. Now, if you don't want to glue, you can always just keep adding however you want. Now, I like to glue because, you know, a number of times I move my centerpiece off the table, like when we're eating and things, and I just don't need it to fall apart or the pieces to come out while I'm moving it. Somewhat embarrassing if you're a designer and you're having a dinner party and your own piece falls apart. So that's why I glue. But you certainly do not need to glue yours if you don't want to. And these base ones that I'm putting in, tying them in is going to be just fine. But you just don't want to go through this tying process the whole time because it does kind of take time away from your... When I'm kind of an impatient person, I like to design. I've got the idea in my mind and I just want to go for it. So here we are. And all I'm doing is just pulling up, giving this all a little bit of texture, a little height, bringing it upwards so it's not laying flat. Okay. Just bring them all up and I hope you can see that a little bit on this side. Let me take these over and move this so you can see it. You see how it's more upright compared to this, which is still somewhat flat, but we're going to make this side the same. I'm going to open up these two quickly and give this the dimension this needs. Well, this year I went with a gold and like a champagne gold and a red color on my tree. I have red poinsettias and gold beaded magnolias. And so I'll be bringing those flowers into this arrangement as well, just so that the two of them, now they're not exact. They're not going to be exact, the tree and the centerpiece. They're going to be sisters, not twins, but sisters. Okay, you'll definitely be able to see the pieces that are matched. Okay, so now we have these two. We're just going to layer them in. All right, and I'm just going to go through again and just tie with the evergreen ties from the base down below. And like I said, this will be the last time I'm going to be tying, because it's just, I have to find them before I put them down. There they are. Just pull them away. I've got my two for this one, and I just need two for the front one. There's one, and there's two. Okay, here we go. Tie them in. See, there's one pair down here that I can tie down here. So you don't want them to be able to be pulled out. There we go. I got one on both sides. Okay. That first one's in. Now we just have to put this second one in. And I had the ties right here, ready to go. Tying it right underneath the pine cone. Okay. And I'll just kind of fluff them up, pull them up, give them life. There we go. All right. Now, my plan is to put a bow in the middle. And then, let me glue this in real quick so I don't forget it. And you probably see this blowtorch I use for a glue gun. It's so incredibly hot. It does its job, that's for sure. Okay. I'm just kind of sticking it in there. Okay, so all four are in there. Everything is set. Now, the next greenery I'm going to use, so I'm going to cut up this evergreen. It's got a little bit of a sparkle to it. It's frosted. This is a eucalyptus, I should say, not an evergreen, but it is a eucalyptus and it's frosted. And it's just going to give it, again, a different texture, a different dimension. I'm going to cut these off. I have two of these branches, two of these picks, so that we can put one on one side and the other one on this side. So you can see that as we're working, we're just starting from the middle, okay, and I have two of everything that I'm using, so I'll put, one on each side of the middle so that we know that it's balanced. Okay, so these are the eucalyptus branches for this side. Okay. And these I'm going to glue in. And all I'm going to do is just dip them off screen, off the camera. I have a glue pot. I just put a little glue on the stem. And then I'm just going to stick it in. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm going to go from the start, right in the corner, and I'm going to stagger them. Okay, I have 5 of these branches, so the first one is at the point. And then I'm going to come over here and put one in on this side. kind of lift up my evergreens, tuck that one in, and then I've gone here. Now I'm going to come down here, and again I'm keeping all 5 of these on this side of the whole arrangement. Now if you were using only 1 teardrop form to start with, you probably would only need half of the supplies that I'm using. Okay, and I don't want them to be directly across from each other. I need them to stagger just a titch more. So I'm going to just take and reposition that last one I put in more towards the middle. Okay, and my last one is going to go right in here. While it's pointing down into the middle, okay, it still is. Now, you can see this. I'll hold it up sideways for you, and you can see how it's kind of staggered, you know, throughout that side. Okay, let's do the same real quick on the other side. Start at the point. Okay, and then just go. Again, I have 5 stems, so I'm going to work the same method, kind of stagger them down towards the middle. Okay, and my last one. There we go. All right, so there is the completed with that. Well, this one's a little large, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just snip off a little bit of it. And kind of create a second pick out of it. And stick it in. There we go. No right or wrong to this. Okay, now the next ones I have, these frosted. All right. Now these come from Hobby Lobby. So, like I said, I get 90 to 95% of my stuff from Jam Designs, but occasionally I do have to go to Hobby Lobby to pick up some little sprays, and of course they've got some really good things to pick from. So now this spray here, I'm going to cut into 2 pieces. So I'll have 2 pieces on each side. All right, I have 2 more off camera, but I'm going to cut these. Let me show you on the main stem. The back of the stem, you can see where there's kind of a break. All right, like you can break it into 2 pieces. I'm going to cut it right here above, and there's actually even an indent in the stem, but I'll cut it there, and I'll show you the 2 pieces I have. They're practically identical. Just, all right. So we're going to do that with all 4 of them, 2 on each side of the middle. So there's 2. And do it same point. I'm going to find that same point right here. The stem has a little indent. Okay. Let me grab my other 2 for the other side so that we can. Now I'm always leaving about an inch or 2-inch stem. That's what's going to glue into the design for me. Okay, let me grab these 2 real quick and cut them on my other side. Okay. So again, I'm just looking on the main stem, following it down, and right there, there's an indent. Same thing. There we go. And just take a little care because the flocking kind of glued the branches together and I didn't want to pull them off. So there we have it. 4 pieces for each half of the design. We're going to just take and kind of snuggle these in. Let's take these other ones off. Okay. I'm going to go right down the middle with this first one. Okay, I'm just layering. Now remember there's 4 for this side, 4 for the other side. So using that same kind of staggering method, just stick them in. These are just added for a little, again, dimension, and so all we're doing is trying to build different textures in and some dimension in. You don't want a flat looking arrangement. And it really doesn't take much to make this, to give this a lot of dimension. Okay, I'm gonna go right in the middle with this one. So I started in the middle, went on the 2 sides, and I'm gonna go back into the middle with this one. Okay, all the while making sure that I'm pulling up anything that's below it to bring it through and melt them together. They have to mingle a little bit. Okay, let's do the other side quickly. Okay, start with this one. I'm going to put the first one right in the middle. I'm going to lift up this. I don't want to pin in my long needle pine. I don't want to pin it down, so I'm going to kind of lift up that long needle pine, keep it out of the way when I put this in. There we go. That way the long needle pine, let me turn this a little bit. The long needle pine, see it? Kind of hanging, pushing through. That's the one that I just put in. All right, now let's finish up with these. I'm going to go one to one side, then the other side. Tuck them into the arrangement. They don't have to sit on the edge. They can go all the way in. Now, if you don't have a glue pot and you design a lot, I tend not to. You saw how steamy that glue gun was. So I find it less painful because I burn myself less if I use the glue pot. So if you don't, then just take your time and with your glue gun, and there we have it. Okay. So when I'm looking in here, I see a lot of green right here. All right. And, you know, where this is kind of all mingled together, but this one has a little bit too much green in here for my liking. So I'm just going to pay attention to that for my the next thing that I put in. I'm going to make sure that I hit these green spots. Okay, so I was going to put these in, but what I found is that I already have pretty much in this design to start with. So I want to get to the picks and things that I already have in my Christmas tree. Now, these were the ribbons that I used in my Christmas tree. I had a gold, I had a platinum gold, and then I had a red and a gold. Okay, these are 4 inches, and this is a 2.5 inch. Now, 4 inches in this is probably too big, so I'm not going to use these, but I'm going to mimic those colors. Okay, and remember I said that this was my sister, not my twin. All right, so these are the colors that I've pulled out. I've got this 1.5 inch gold and red. I have, oh, are we even seeing that? Oh, I'm sorry, there, that's better. So let me start over real quick. In case you missed these, these were the ones that were in my tree. Okay, that I'm replacing. I don't want a really big, thick ribbon in this. So I'm going to replace these with like colors. So I have this red and this gold. I have this red and gold, kind of a vine. Okay. And these are 1.5 inch, which I think will work better. Now I have this red and gold. Okay, also a 1.5 inch. And then I have this solid red. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm gonna kick out one of these. I'm gonna kick out this one here, so that I'll just have these 3. This is a velvet and gold beaded one. This is just a gold and red. And then just those 3. And maybe I'll start with this one. Actually, no. I'm gonna skip the 3 ribbons I put in my tree completely. Now, real quick, I'm gonna see if I can find a gold ribbon. Just give me 1 second. I apologize. I should have had this all ready for you. I just want to see if I have a gold one to replace the solid gold in there. And I do. The miracle of Christmas. There we go. I'm going to use this one. Okay, so then that pretty much will copy my tree completely. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to make a bow, and then we'll go from there. I'll put this down. Get my bow maker. Now use a bow maker. If I tend not to be able to hold those real thick ribbons very tightly by hand, so I just rely on my bow maker. Okay. And I use a zip tie. Zip ties are my best friend. So let's start with, I'm going to go with this. This is a less expensive ribbon. So the fact that I can use this on the bottom, and I won't be too upset that it's not going to be as visual as the other ones. So now I'm going to put probably, let's see, about a 12 inch tail, and I'm going to weave tails independently through my base. All right. If I try to start it from the bow, it tends to just kind of get all twisted up. So what I'd like to do is put my accent flowers in, and then at the end I'll put tails in, and I'll show you how to I just put, tails on a stick, and then just push it into the arrangement. It looks like the ribbon is all the way through the arrangement, but in actuality it's just stuck in. So let me show you that little trick later. I'm going to start with an 8-inch loop and make 2 loops, and in the middle I'm twisting. All right, so I'm going to come to my 8-inch right here. Now this is the last loop I'm doing, so I'm not going to twist it. I'm just going to compress it. So I have 2 loops, and I'll have 2 tails. Okay, and I'm trying to measure my last tail here. Okay, so the tails are starting out at 12. Okay, so I'm going to dovetail them. You fold your ribbon in half, cut from the fold to the outside. Let me do that again for you. Fold it in half, cutting from the fold to the point, and it's going to give you the dovetail, okay? So there we have that. That ribbon is done. Push it to the side. Now I'll probably use this ribbon for tails. All right, now I'm going to use the gold. This is, again, out of all 4 ribbons, the first 2 are my lesser expensive. How's that? They're not too expensive. So if they get kind of closed off, I'm not worried, or covered up, I'm not worried. Now I'm going to start with the dovetail. All right, go up to the top. All right, my first tail was down on the bottom. I'm going to move this tail up to the top by starting with it up here at the top. Okay, I'm going to make 2 loops again in the middle I'm going to twist my ribbon. And the reason you want that is you want that, the good side of the ribbon, the colorful side, to come up over the loop. So that's what I'm doing. These loops are slightly smaller than the other ones. Not by much, maybe a ½ inch. Okay. And then I'm just going to cut this tail and dovetail the end. Dovetail as I go so I don't have to worry about forgetting to do them. Okay, so this ribbon is done. Again, I'm going to keep it to the side because I'm going to be making other tails. All right, so now this is my money ribbon. This is the one that is very, very pretty. This is a ribbon from D. Stevens. But I'll tell you what, I've made lots of bows and I've made them without expensive ribbon and they still look just as gorgeous as bows with these. So if you don't have a supply of expensive ribbon or more expensive ribbon, just use what you have and it'll turn out gorgeous, I promise you. Now, this one is going to be hard to dovetail because it's got the lace on top. Do you see that lace on top? It's kind of a loose lace. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from the lace. Oops. I'm going to cut from the lace down on an angle. This is called a knife edge. Let me just cut it. All right, so instead of a dovetail, it's got a knife edge. I'm going to just trim up the end. There we go. Okay, so it's just comes to a point. That's called a knife edge. Okay, so I'm going to start on the bottom with this one. Twist it in the middle. Then I'm going to make kind of the same loop size as this one. I'm going to twist it in the middle. Okay, so my bottom one is the longest. Then the next two are about the same size. Nothing is perfect, so don't worry. And then I'm going to compress it. All right, and then make a knife edge cut again from the lace down. There we go. And I'll bring that to the top. Okay, so each ribbon is giving us 2 loops, one on each side, 2 tails, one on each side. Okay, and you'll see that we kind of just spread out our loops, and you can see how our bow is coming together. All right, just spread out the loops. And I pull my loops diagonally. So this gold loop is going to come on the bottom down here and the top. And when I say bottom and top, what I'm referring to is my bow maker. This loop is on the top of my bow maker, and this loop is on the bottom. Same for the red. The red, this first red is down the middle. This one is down the middle. And then this red velvet forms a diagonal this way. All right. Okay, our last ribbon is this red and gold. It's more of a platinum gold, which will just work fine because I do have platinum gold stems that I'm going to be putting in. All right. And this is a 1-inch ribbon. Yes, 1-inch ribbon. So I'm going to do a knife's edge on this one as well. Okay. Only because the dovetail doesn't quite look as nice on those real thin. No, doesn't mean you can't do it, but that's just my thing. Now I've started this tail on the bottom, so I'm going to go to the top with this one. All right, and just twist it in the middle so that the velvet side of the bow comes up through the loop. I'm going to twist it again in the middle and then bring that up. Make sure my loops are somewhat close in size. All right, and then cut. There we have it. Okay, there's our bow. All right. I'm going to take this zip tie, feed it all the way through to the pegs. I'm bringing it up all the way on the bottom of all the bows, but up to the pegs, because then I'm going to seal it up. I'm going to use this zip tie to lift up the bow from the, then I'm going to put the zip tie between the two pegs. All right, tighten it and give it some tension. Okay, and now I'm going to pull it off. I don't pull my ribbon, my bow off until I've got it pretty much, all the tension is in the middle, is already applied with the zip tie. I don't have to hold it in my hand and try to get that zip tie tight, okay? So now I'm just going to take and tighten it as much as I can, cut off the tail. Okay, there we go. Let me go away. Let me get my swag back up here. That centerpiece. We need to just move these ribbons a little bit out of the way. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So this bow, I'm just going to move these, pull up my ribbons, my loops, I should say, give them some life. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to use another zip tie in the middle of the swag, the middle of the arrangement. I'm going to take my zip tie, put it down through this, catch the spine of the whole arrangement, and then just bring it back up so that this is going to hold the bow down in the middle. And don't worry, this bow will fluff up nicely. You won't even see the zip tie because we're going to pull up on the loops. There we go. Now I don't crank down too much on this yet. Get it in the right position. Then kind of pull it. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to just take the time and move all my loops upwards. Okay. Pull the tails down a little. Give all the, you can bend them upwards. All right. If you take your hand and go along the ribbon, it curls it. See how it kind of curls it? Okay. More, a little bit of life there. Okay. All right, now we're going to work on those loops that I was talking about. And I want to use the gold, and I think I'm going to use the jeweled. Okay, so I'm going to put the two of them together. All right, and I'm just going to kind of measure how I want them to kind of weave through the arrangement. All right, giving them a little bit of a little room to flow. So I'm going to take this much of the ribbons. I'm going to add just a little extra because I can cut it off, but I can't add it back. And then I'm just going to cut this end down here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure out 2 more pieces for the other side. Yeah. Right about, where's my gold? There it is. Okay. Cut on a knife, give it a knife's edge. Okay. So We can move the ribbons away. For now, I'm going to get 2 pieces of, I saved the nubs of my, well, in case you don't have it, let's start from scratch and show you. These are pieces that I'm going to put into the arrangement. Let's see, the bottom part, I'll probably cut this off to use it in the arrangement. So I'm going to cut it off ahead of time, off of that one as well as this one. There we go. Now, this is what I call nubs. I save these from all of my stems, all right? I should say that, not all. Like the stems from the Hobby Lobby, those were plastic stems. I don't like to use those. These are kind of the wired stems with paper on them. So these are the ones that I cut off. Any stems that I have that have this type of material on it, I cut them off and save them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take, with another zip tie, I'm going to take the end of the ribbon and I'm just going to put it on, you can see it, I'm going to put that stem right in the middle of it and zip tie the ribbon onto this stem, onto this nub, okay? Let's get it started so I can show you. Okay, so just kind of gather up the ribbon, put this in the middle of it. I give myself 2 or 3 inches in the middle, and then I zip tie it tightly around it, as tight as I can pull it. All right, there we go. I'm going to do that to both, and I'm just going to put a dab of glue right in here. Okay, just a dab of it, just to hold it. There we go. And before I use that, I'm just going to set that to cool off and to adhere. Let's do the other set of ribbons real quick. Same process. Just going to gather up the ribbons around the stem. Use a zip tie. Pull it as tightly as you can. Okay. And see, basically what we're going to do is we're going to stick this into the arrangement and then loop our things throughout it. But that way, I didn't have to include these ribbons in with my bow and then find out I didn't have enough on this side or this side's too long. This is the method that I use just to keep things easier for me. Glue glob off, and then I'm just going to stick the glue right down the back of the ribbon in that little area where that stem is. Okay. Trying to keep my glue going. I didn't succeed. I was trying to keep it from falling. Okay, so a closer look, you can see that little area there is where the glue is. Okay, I'll let that cool off. Let me set this glue gun up again. You can see I'm very afraid of my glue gun. I've had some pretty good burns, and so I'm going to give it the respect it needs. Okay, so that first one should be usable by now. Okay, so I'm going to put glue on the end of this, and I'm going to tuck it in as close as I can get to this ribbon so that it looks like it's part of that ribbon, okay? So I'm going to cut down the nub just a little bit. I don't need that long of a nub. Now that I'm just going to insert it, dip it in my glue. Okay, push back this bow and get it all the way down in there. and let it hit the greenery that's down below it. Okay? Let it cool off. Let's do the other one while that one cools. Same thing, I'm just going to cut the nub. Okay. Now the reason I start with a longer nub because it's easier. Everything is easier for me if I start with it. You know, if I had to try to grab that and manipulate it and on such a small ribbon, it would on such a small nub, it would drive me crazy. So that's why I use a little bit longer and then just cut it off. Okay, so let's just take and work these through. I'm going to do a loop to the left and then a loop to the right and then finish down here. So that's my idea. That's what I'm going to try to do. All right, and all I'm doing is I'm going to give these two ribbons just a little bit of space. Okay, and just take that. All right, and tuck it in down here. All right, and the way we're going to do that is we are going to, I'm going to use nubs again, or let's just use some wire. Okay, I have wire here. I'm going to cut this wire into smaller pieces. And all I'm doing is I'm taking and tying this little ribbon with this wire to a branch that's already there. Okay? Just using the branch that's already there. Okay, so I kind of have a roller coaster. I'm going to separate them just a little bit. All right, now let's move it to this side. Let me stand up and make it easier for you to see. Okay, I'm going to go to this side then. Just weaving it through there's a branch right here. Actually, there's two branches from our original base. So all I'm going to do is pinch that ribbon together, use that tie, twist it up, so it gives our ribbon a little bit of movement. And actually I'm going to just move it down a little further. I need it actually more down here to give it better flow. So when I thought I had a tie there, I don't. So I'm just going to use the same method. I'm going to use this piece of wire and put it through the branch that's closest to it. Right here. Twist it. Twist the wire like a bread bag twist, just giving it a twist. There we go. Okay. All right. So now I'm just going to finish up by cutting these. Let's see. Bring this back to the middle. I'm just going to cut them a little bit shorter. I don't need them quite as long as they were. There we go. All right, when we put the other items in, it'll look like that ribbon is weaving through. Now we started on this, going this way towards me, so I'm going to go away from me with this one. I'm going to make my loop. Let me get my wire. I still have some of the wire left. All right, now if you don't have this particular wire, you can always use, if you can find some of the greenery down here. If not, you can use a Chanel stem or pipe cleaner, whatever you need to. And let me show you real quick. I have a green pipe cleaner here. If I went over that exact place instead of that other wire down here, all I'm doing is just using a zip tie. I'm sorry, not a zip tie, a pipe cleaner. instead of that wire. So that's what I'm saying to you, is that if you don't have this wire, don't panic. You can use a pipe cleaner. And if you look, let me move it for you. If you look, you can't even see the pipe cleaner because the greenery folds over it. So use whatever you have, pipe cleaner, wire. I'm going to keep that pipe cleaner handy. All right, now let's just do this up real quick. I'm going to make the same ribbon flowing. But I'm going to go this way first. Let me pinch it here. Okay, find a branch that I can zip tie this to, or keep saying zip tie, but I mean pipe cleaner or wire. Just go down below it. And this, like I said, this seems like a kind of a loose way to do this, but you'll see when we add the remaining pieces quickly. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I'm just going to, all of this will adhere really well together when you add all the rest of the things in there. Okay, so there's that pipe cleaner. Okay, just cut the loose ends off. Bend them behind and you won't even see them. Okay, so let's take that. There's our loop there. We're going to come back to this side towards me. I'm going to find the same thing, make a loop. And there's the, now this pipe cleaner might be a little too hard for me to manipulate, so I'm going to get one more pipe cleaner. All right, and just use this. Pinch that ribbon together, make it as tight as you can, and then just find a branch that is close enough to it. You can put this pipe cleaner around to hold it in place. Just twist it a couple of times. There we go. All right, I'm going to cut off my pipe cleaner. Tuck it around the back so nobody sees it. And then and these two ribbons actually are pretty good length, so I don't need to worry about cutting them off. All right, so we're all done with our ribbon. Now let's get to the fun part of putting these. Now these are the picks and things that I use on my tree. So I have lots of gold and red. Okay, I have two of each pick. Again, one for each side of my arrangement. I'm going to start with these beaded leaves. And now this is totally up to you, however you want to do it. But I'm gonna, when I open up these leaves, I'm gonna show you that the leaves come in branches. Okay, so there's 4 branches. I'm just gonna cut these right off. Okay, so those are the 4 for this side. We're going to do the same thing here, 4 for this side. So you see the pattern is really find your middle in this case. Now, you know, not all arrangements have to be definitely down the middle. Here's the nub that I'm going to save. All right. So all you need to do is open these up. Okay, spread them out. Give them a little life, and just like we did with all the other things so far, we're just going to glue them in. I'm going to open them up real quick, kind of do a dry run, see where I like them, how they look. All right, I don't want them directly across from each other, so I'm going to stagger them a little. I always like one at the tip. Okay, just trying to open Open these up quickly. Want one at the tip, then one back here, kind of where that loop is. Okay, I'll move this one back a little further. Okay, and my last one I'll put in on this side. And that's all we're going to do. We're just going to take these remaining picks, cut them up. This one I'm going to end here. Actually, I think I'm going to put one right here. Okay, so I have the same ones for this side. They don't have to be placed the same places as this side, just as long as that when you look at them, they look well diverse, distributed throughout the arrangement. That's all we're doing. We're just making sure that they're evenly spaced throughout. And then one at the tip. And then we can go in with glue, and all I'm going to do is just dip the end and stick them right where I have them. Okay, so let's start here so you can see. Okay, just dipping it in that glue, and sticking it into my wreath. My wreath formed there. Okay, the same thing. I know I have 4 in each piece, so I know I have to glue in 8 of these. There we go. There's 4 on that side. See how this glue pot is so much easier. This glue pot you can buy a glue pot, but you can also just go to Target and get a electric skillet. It's an 8-inch electric skillet. You melt glue sticks in it. You can get the glue sticks from Hobby Lobby, from Amazon, Michael's, any craft store, and then just melt them. My glue skillet here is an electric skillet, so I have it on 350 degrees, and that will melt it. Then I just turn it off. I don't take the glue out. I leave the glue in it. It solidifies, and then the next time I'm designing, I just turn it back on to 350. It takes about 5 minutes to warm up. And then you have the liquidy glue. Okay, so that's the first one. Now let's do this red. Get the other red. Okay. Same process. We're just going to go through, open these up, and split them out. Let's see if we need to split them as much. These are heavily glittered, so they kind of stick together. And each one of them has, like, there are 3 main stems, and then there is, on each main stem, there's 2. I'm going to just keep the main stem, so I'm just going to put 3 in. This one actually has 3 on it, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut this off, cut this one off, and then, so I'll have 3 stems and a little straggler, all right? So that way we don't have a lot to put in, okay? And again, we're just gonna put them throughout. Spread. This is the straggler. I'll put him close to the bow. Okay. Just weaving them in and out. Last piece right here. I'm actually going to just, this one also has 3 on it, so I'm going to take one of the stragglers. I'll put 2 together over on this side. And then I'm going to put this one over on this side. Okay, we'll do the same thing with this branch here on this side. Now I'm sorry, it seems like all of a sudden I'm speeding up and trying to get through this, but it's the same principle with whatever you're putting in your arrangement. It's the same principle. I find the middle of my arrangement and go side to side. This one has the two, this one and this one. Okay, so there's, and then this one is separate. There we go. Keep that nub. All right, so I have one with two on it. I'm gonna glue that and stick it right here. And I have a single one. I'll put it on this side, similar to that side. Then I have one with two. I'll put it on this side up here. This one with two. Separate them a little bit. I'm just staggering them so that they're not right next to each other. Okay, and then one last one. And okay, I'm just going to put it here. Just distributing throughout the arrangement. Now the next thing that I have, and these are big pieces, so I'm going to put these in before I put anything else in. This is a poinsettia and my magnolia. Now these definitely match my tree. I'm just going to take the time to open this up. It's a pretty large flower, but you can, with these large magnolias, you can take off the back leaves, the back petals, and make them a smaller. If you want, you can actually pull out all of the petals themselves and put the petals in individually. These are amazing little things, little flowers to use because designers do a lot of different things with them. It's it's really pretty cool. Okay, so I have one of them. All right. Let me do the other one real quick for the other side. Working in this principle. What I do to one side, I do to the other. And you can stop wherever you'd like. This looks very pretty in my opinion right now with the ribbon flowing through it and all the different colored, the red berries and the gold leaves. So it's a good stopping point if you don't have, more to put in it. You can be happy with how it looks right there. Okay, so those are the two. Now, I'm definitely going to cut the stem. Okay, do the same on this one. And then we'll find a place to tuck these in. Now, since I'm only using two, one on each side, I'm going to, you don't want them to be the same, all right? So find an angle, find if you want this one to go off more towards this side, and this one to come off more towards this side. Okay, then we have these magnolias. I just have two. So these are the big focal points that I have, are my flowers. And I actually have some ornaments too, but we'll see if we're going to be able to fit those in. I'm going to cut this off, save my nub. Now. Magnolias are really easy to fluff up. You just peel back the leaves, smooth them out a little bit. And again, you can make them as small as you want. You can open them as wide as you want. Or if you want to take off these petals, look what happens when you take off the petals. You can make it a smaller flower. If you took back off all the big petals, you can make it smaller. And then you could use those petals throughout. But I'm going to use them all, but just trying to give you ideas when you see a flower that maybe, you know, that you love, but it seems too big for your space. Just break it up. Now, I have a magnolia here on this side. I'm going to put my other one on this side, angling that way. Okay, so I have red, red, both pointing out differently. Then I have my golds, magnolias. So now I'm just going to stick some glue on it and put it right back where I had it. Okay, let's do the same thing here. Let's do the magnolias first. Stick it in, right by those gold leaves. Okay, let's put the red poinsettias in. And also by keeping a little length on the poinsettia on your flower stems, you can lift them away from the arrangement a little bit. They don't have to be compacted into the arrangement. Okay, so you can see I have probably about I can measure it real quick, 7-inch stem. Okay, there we go. The bow still is in the middle. Okay, now the last pieces that I would like to put in, I have these. These are clumps of gold berries. All right, and I think that once I take the price tag off, I think we can cut, we don't have to cut it them, there's like 3 branches, I believe. Let's see, 1. There's actually 5 on it. We can take the time and separate them all out, or we can put them in as clumps. As soon as I get the price tag off, that's you put these sticky price tags on and it drives me crazy. Because you spend so much time trying to get them off. All right, there we go. So, I'm just testing them out here. Obviously too big of a clump, so I'm going to take and I'm going to separate these out. I'm going to cut right here. See on the back, I have a long stem and then these shorter stems. So I'm going to cut the 2 stems apart. Easier said than done, right? There we go. All right. So then we have 1 more stem. So I actually have 2 larger stems and a smaller stem. All right. So just going to fill in where I need spaces, where I have spaces and I need something in there. And I don't want to go right next to each other. Let's see. That's a good. Okay, so I'm going to take this one and glue it on this side. Push it in. Okay, and then this one on this side. And then this one down here at the bottom. We'll do the same with the other pick. Berries. We'll cut it into the 3 pieces. Oh, here's that darn. Ooh, I thought I had it in one swipe. Wouldn't that have been nice? That one came off pretty nicely. Okay, so let's see what we have here. We have, this was the one that was separate on that one. And then this one, I cut right here. There we go. Now, I'm going to put one over on this side, kind of on the angle from that one. Alrighty. Put the other one up here. And this last one down at the end, at the tip. Give the end some decoration. Okay, now, I promise this is the last pick I'm going to use. And I appreciate you staying with me as long as you have. Okay, this has little crystals on it. I don't know if you can see it very well. I'm trying to hold it still in the camera. Not doing a good job of it though, am I? You see the crystals? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off these by branches because they're so long. Now, in a Christmas tree, it looks good hanging out, but I don't know that it would. I just don't want this to be hanging out so much. So I'm going to cut 1, 2. I'm going to get 4 pieces out of this. Okay, I'm going to cut each stem and then this main stem I'm going to cut way up here at the top. I mean, this is such an incredibly unique branch because it's got these circular, almost like donut-shaped sequins on it. Okay, so there we have it. We have 4 pieces on that one stem. Okay, so this gives it such an airy, I mean, you can see it. It just gives your design a very whimsical or airy kind of magical look. So just kind of putting them around to see. And I don't mind that these come off of the arrangement. They're just not hanging off really far. They're just coming off a little bit. So let's see. And actually by changing this one from laying flat to going up, I have 2. It gives it more dimension just by doing that little twist. I'll show you. I'm going to put it in on the angle this way so that they're actually coming up out of the arrangement. Do that with this one as well. Tuck it in. All right, this one is underneath the red. Okay. Tuck that in. You know, when I'm tucking this in, I'm just kind of wiggling it until it hits another stem to hold on to. Okay, and then this single one is on this side of the bow, going up. Okay, let's cut this one up. The same way. I'm going to cut this single one off first. Cut this next one, going up the stem. Then this one right here. I'm cutting it so that each stem has 2 branches on it. There we go. All right. Now, to try to mimic this, I have one here. I have the single one was here, so I'm going to put the single one over here. Double one over here. And I'm just, when I glue them in, I'm going to make sure that I turn it on its edge so that they're sticking up as opposed to flat. They're up. I want to put them in like that. Okay. them that dimension that they need. Take and move your thing so that you can get this to the greenery. You want it to glue to greenery. Okay, here's my last one down here. All right. So that is pretty much it. Let me move everything that I didn't use out of the way, and I'll give you a look at this. Let me fluff up my ribbons a little bit because they've been compressed from me leaning on them as I'm putting stuff in. Okay, so we started with those evergreen bases, and I can tell you that I can see very, very little of that base. All right. Now, again, you do not need to make this large of an arrangement, but the principle is the same. Start with your base that is going to be covered up. So use an inexpensive base. You can use a garland. You can use one of those green garlands. Just, you know, they're usually 9 feet long. Cut off let's say you want a 8-foot or a 4-foot arrangement. Cut off 8 feet, kind of double it up, twist them together, and that'll give you a really solid base to add this stuff into, all right? Then the next thing we did is we just added a lot of different greeneries to give it some depth and dimension. And finally, we put our pretties in. Now, your pretties can be, if you want to match your Christmas tree, or just anything that you wanted to make. In my case, I just used the pretties from my Christmas tree so that it can, you know, match. But they're sisters. They are not twins. All right? So let me show you if I can. I'm going to lift it up. Try to give you a look at it slowly as I can. You can see the branches have dimension. All right, the tails. The other thing that I suggested doing is putting the tails in, put the bow in the middle, and then put the tails on a stick and then guide them through your wreath however you want it. But that kind of helps you so that you don't use too little or too much of the ribbon. You know, too much meaning that you're trying to guess and you end up having to cut away some. But in any case, these were some of the points that I tried to help you in your designs. I want to thank you for spending this incredibly long time with me. I'm sorry it took so long, but I do hope you can walk away with a few pointers or a few different ideas for anything that you feel that you would like to make. Again, thank you for your time. Have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you next time.